Digitizing your classroom library. Step 4. Creating basic info page. Step 1. File type and file name.
All right, welcome. Here we go. Let's get this started. We want to take it from an Excel file to a Google Sheets. So to do that, you want to click File. Then you want to go down to Save as Google Sheets. Now it's time to go ahead and give it a name. I'm going to name mine Mr. Stub Library. I like to keep it simple, You can name it whatever you like.
Step 2. Clean your data.
All right, now what I like to do is clean up my data at this point. Sometimes it has special characters, and that's from using the scanner. So I like to use this function under Edit called Find and Replace. And what I'll do is I'll take this title and I'll put it in both the Find and the Replace section of the Find and Replace. Then what I'll do is I will clear out all the special characters in the Replace section, having only the title. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this with each one of them. I'm not going to make you suffer through the whole thing. I'm going to fast forward through it. But just know I did it with each one of the titles that have special characters. Now, you may not want to do this, but this is something I like to do. And it makes it look a little cleaner. And I like to make it simple,
Step 3. Remove excessive data.
Now I'm going to clean up those columns that I don't need, all that excessive data. So I push Control and I selected all of the columns I didn't need. I put a list of them in the description. And once I've selected them all, I then right click and deleted all selected columns. And there you go.
Step 4. Create basic info page. The titles.
All right, let's go ahead and create what I like to call the basic information page. This is the page where all of our data is going to come from. Okay, to do that, we'll click the plus in the bottom left-hand corner. Then we're going to right-click on that and rename. We'll call it basic info. That's what I like to call it. Okay, so now you want to have each one of your titles and not multiple ones. So you want to copy from the shelves all titles. Then you're going to your basic info and you're going to paste it. Now you want to remove the duplicates. So you're going to go to Data, Clean Up Data, and Remove Duplicates. So once you click the Remove Duplicates button, you will have just a list of all the titles that you have that are not duplicated.
Step 5. Create basic info page. The formulas part 1.
We're coming up to a part that's a little more difficult, the formulas. But what we're going to do is we're going to pull all the information for each one of the titles so we can put it on this basic information page. Give us the information about the author, pages, and all of that. So first thing, I want to copy these headers and place them over to our basic informations page. And we're going to use the formula vlookup to pull the information for each one of these titles and give us their info. Now, this is important because it allows us to pull the information for these titles. And if we need to add more titles later, this process makes it simple to apply. So let's begin. Equal vlookup, open parentheses. And the first part is asking you, which search key are you looking for? So what information are you looking to identify? So I want it to look for this book title. So to make this constantly A, and you'll see this in a minute, I'm going to put a $sign in front of the A. Then I'm going to put a comma behind that too. So the next part you see that's highlighted here is asking you what range are you looking for. So I'm going to come over here to shelves and I'm going to tell it, hey, I want you to look at all of this information from K all the way to A. Now, it says shelves here in this formula. It's supposed to say A to K. So if you highlight all of it, it should say shelves, exclamation point, A colon K. Then you're going to put another comma to go to the index. So what this index means is if I were to count the columns, the first column should be looking up that first value. So you have to make sure that that first column has the value that you're looking for. We're looking for the titles, so it has to match up to that first column that has the titles. So when I'm doing this, what I wanted to return is what's in column B, which is the author. So when I come back here to shelves, the author is in the second column. So the first column has the information. The second column is B, which has the author. So I'm going to put the number 2 and I'm going to put a comma. Now, I'm going to go back to where it says A and K, and I'm going to put a $sign in front of each one of those because I don't want these values to change when I use this shortcut that I'm about to use. So I need that to stay the same. So is sort. Now you can actually leave this one blank, or you can put false on there. I like to put false in there because I want it to return the specific value for that title. And if you put true, it'll look for stuff that's similar to it. We're going to push false because we want that specific thing there. So now I have the formula, and it should return the same author for this book that it says in shelves. So here, Suzanne is there, and it should say Suzanne here. So now, I talked earlier about a shortcut. This is the shortcut that I like to use. I'm going to take my arrow and put it to where it's on that circle at the bottom right of the cell. It'll create a crosshair, and I'm going to drag that crosshair all the way across. Now, what you're going to see is the same information across. Now, the one thing that you're going to notice when I click on each one of them is that number 2 is still there. Remember what I said, the number of the columns. So this will represent 2, 3, 4, and so on. So that's all we're going to have to change. Had we not put this $sign here, then it would have become B2 when we moved it over to the left, because the formulas are going to move with where you move it. So to keep it the same, we still want it as A2, and we still want our columns to be from A on over to K here. So that's why we put the $signs in front of the A and the K. So now all we have to do is go back through and change these numbers, and it'll change the values. Now, I'm going to do one more shortcut because we have all of these titles that we have to do, and I don't want to have to type all of those 177 titles in for each one of that or do that each time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these in this row. And now that I have this, once again, just like I drug it across here, I can come here to where I have the crosshairs and then double click or click the left mouse key twice, and it'll fill it in like so. So now all of that information, each one of those formulas have come across for all of the titles that you see here. And I didn't have to type in each one.
Final step. Create basic info page. The formulas part 2.
What we're going to do with the second part of our formulas is we're going to create a few more headers that we need in order for our check-in and check-out process to go smoothly. So I'm going to type these headers in, and I'd like you to just simply type them with me. So let's jump into our formulas for this. So the check-in and check-out URL, we're gonna do this formula a little bit later when we get those forms made, which is the next video. And we're going to take the link from that and put it in here. Now, inventory. For inventory, we are going to use a formula called countif. And all this is doing is saying, hey, I want you to go to this section and I want you to count all of the ones that meet a certain criteria. Okay, so that range that it's asking for in the first column, you're going to go over to shelves and you are going to pick that very first column, that A column, and I'm telling it, hey, I want you to go down this A column and count how many times that, and we'll go back over here, comma, this text appears. So we have A2, right? So it's going to go over to the shelves, and every time that Aubrey, my apologies, Love Aubrey appears, it's going to count it. So now we can go ahead and close quotations. And for that one text, we know that we have 3 of these titles, Love Aubrey, on the shelf. Now, later on, we're going to talk about the formulas to deduct when we create our forms and the overall how many we have left. But right now, we're just counting how many we are supposed to have on our shelf. And then we're going to go back to that shortcut that I showed you guys earlier. Put your mouse in that right-hand corner of the cell where the dot is, double click it, and then let the quantities fill in. Now, sometimes it won't fill in like this one. So you can also take the left click button, hold it, and pull it all the way down until you get to the end. And then it will populate them automatically. So now we have an inventory of all of the books that we have on our shelf. Now, for the on hand, we're going to do another formula for this a little bit later on. And for the last checked out, we're going to do a formula for that one a little later on as well, because it's going to require that we have those forms already built. So that check-in and check-out form, like I said, is going to be the next part of the video. So now, last formula that we're going to do is we are going to simply say, hey, if this on-hand quantity exceeds the number of inventory that we have, students shouldn't be able to check that text out. So what we're going to do is we are going to use a formula that comes to this spot and says, hey, if this quantity minus this quantity equals 0, then don't show the title anymore. So that way, when students go to check out a book, they'll know, hey, this title isn't on the shelf anymore. This is going to be accomplished by using what's called an if function. Like I said, if this reaches 0, then the title shouldn't be available for students to check out. So this is how we're going to do it. We're going to push equals if, open parentheses. So what we're saying is if this on-hand quantity equals 0, so you can click that cell into equals 0, comma, If it's true, you want it to return a blank space. So I'm going to put open quotation, close quotation, no space in between. Now, if it is false, which means that the value is higher than 0, you're going to click the title, so A2, and then you close your parentheses. So right now, because we don't have a quantity in here, because we haven't written the formula for the on-hand quantity, it's returning nothing, right? So what you'll see here is once we actually write the formula, it's going to return however many it is that you have on your shelf. So let's say nobody's checked any books out, you're going to see that that title appears. But right now, we don't have the formula in, so it's not there. And once again, what we're going to do is we are going to drag those formulas all the way down. And once we write the formula in and populate for each one of these titles, then it will put the titles of each one of these books in. And so this brings us to the end of our basic informations page. The next thing we're going to work on is creating a check-in and check-out form using Google Forms, and we're going to tie it all into this. And based on the information from that, we'll be able to populate these last few cells, and then we'll be able to go into Looker Studio and create that digital check-in and check-out system for your classroom. Thanks for sticking this far with me. We're almost done, guys, and let's continue to make it simple.
Thank you for watching. Click here for step 5.